This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good evening, dear friends. We're continuing in Daf Hashavua Maseches Nedarim, Daf Chaf Zayin Amud Beis. We're discussing the sugya of holiest b'nedarim. Now, what's interesting is you may have remembered the sugya of holiest begitin. Do we say yesh holiest begitin or ein holiest begitin? Do you remember that? And by the way, there the Gemara said that even if you say yesh holiest begitin, so it should not be a good get, there might be a svara that we say ein holiest begitin. Ein holiest begitin means it's not an holiest, and therefore it is a good get. You know why? The Gemara in Ksubis on Daf Beis Amud Beis said, really, yesh holiest. And yesh holiest would say, it's not a good get. But because of tznuais and prutzais, do you remember that? In Maseches Ksubis, in the beginning of Ksubis, where we have to say, you know why ein holiest begitin? Ein holiest means, let's say somebody says, this is a get, if I don't come back within 30 days, and an holiest happened. So really, it should not be a get. But we have to say it's a get because otherwise, tznuais won't get married, or prutzais will dafka be mezaneh. So there's a special reason why by gittin we perhaps will say ein holiest begitin. We'll see that in the Ran as we proceed. The Gemara says like this: Chav Zayin Amud Beis, says the Gemara, Ma'ishna. Okay, the Gemara is asking, and the Gemara brought the opinion of Rava as opposed to Rav Huna. Rav Huna, let's review the case. There's a guy. The Mishnah said nidrei oinsin are not chal. What's the case of nidrei oinsin? You made a neder that you can't get enough from me unless you come to eat by my house. And the guy got sick, or his son got sick. Then the Gemara brought a case of a guy who gave his shtar of zachvasa to Bezdin, his shtar that gave him rights to a field, and he said, if I don't come within 30 days to bring more evidence, so I abolish, I'm mevatel the shtar. And an holiest happened and he didn't come. Rav Huna said, so too bad, he didn't come, his rights are batal. So Rava said, no, he's an anus rachmana patre. We learn it out from ulanara loy sasa davar. And don't say, well, that's only by execution. We see in the Mishnah, even by Nedarim, we say anus rachmana patre. The Gemara asks, well, but Rava, who says yesh oines, but we know if somebody says hareza gitech me'achshav imlay basi, the halacha is it's a good get. So we see that we don't say a tainus oines. The Gemara says, no, there it's different. The whole reason why he's giving the get is to exempt the woman from yibam. The Ran says that the Gemara could have said something else. The Gemara could have said, only by gittin do we say ein holiest, because of the sugya of in Ksubis, that really yesh holiest, but we say ein holiest because of tznuais and prutzais. And if you don't remember it, I would humbly recommend you go back and take a look at the Gemara in Ksubis on Daf Beis Amud Beis, Misham tznuais umisham prutzais. Ein holiest begitin. Because it might be another 50 years until we get to it in Daf Hashavua. And my bracha is all of us should be together continuing to learn Daf Hashavua, Ksubis, Be'ezus Hashem in the next cycle. Fine. Ma'ishna. Now we're asking on Rava, who says that we do use tainus oines by Nedarim. Ma'ishna mehuda amrlu. Why is it different from a case where somebody said to them, he says, if I don't come back within 30 days, lahavagita, it should be a good get. So he says, if I don't come back in 30 days, it should be a good get. Also, Pascha Ma'avra. He came and he was stopped Mabra by the crossing, by the ferry. It wasn't time for the boat to cross. So he came, he said, look, I came, but he can't cross the river. Shmuel said, Lo Shmei Masya. It's not considered a good coming. It's not, he didn't come. Not coming is not coming. Amai v'amenas anas. But he's an oinus. It's a kasha on Rava, who says, Yesh tainus oinus. Says Gemara, no. Dilma unsa d'magal yashani. Maybe an oinus, which is predictable, is different. Uma'abra megala unse. Traffic is predictable, right? A guy says, if I don't make it to Brooklyn from the 5 towns in 30 minutes, then I'm going to do so and so. So 50 minutes later, the guy says, well, I tried to come, but what can I do? It was an oinus. There was traffic on the belt. You say, pal, that's an oinus? Traffic on the belt is an oinus? There's been traffic on the belt since Oig Melech HaBashan. There's traffic on the belt. So don't say, oh, some crazy oinus happened. There's traffic on the belt highway. They built the belt al manas that there should be traffic. That's why they built it. They never even, there's no other way. That's what it is. Okay. So a predictable, even if you say yesh oinus, if it's predictable, so then we say ein oinus. Weiter in the Gemara. Now the Gemara has a gavaldiga kasha. Rav Huna was of the opinion that a guy who says, if I don't come back, Bezdin, the guy was holding a shtar of zachvasa, of rights to a certain field. He said, I have better proof. If I don't come back in 30 days, I'm mevatel my shtar zachvasa. I'm mevatel my shtar zachvasa. So the Gemara asks, Rav Huna, Michti asmachta hi, it's an asmachta. The asmachta loikanya, an asmachta is not a kinyan. What's an asmachta? Asmachta is somebody who obligates himself to something, but he doesn't really think he'll be obligated. A guy who says, if the sun turns into cheese, then I'm going to learn the whole shas. He really doesn't think the sun is going to turn into cheese. So if it does turn into cheese, he doesn't have to learn the shas, because he really didn't think it was going to happen. Meaning, asmachta is when you make a kinyan, when you're makna something, contingent on an eventuality that you really don't think will happen. So that's asmachta lekanya, because it's lacking in das. So Rav Huna is of the opinion that the guy said, if I don't come within 30 days, then I'm being mavatal my zachvasa, and an oinus happened. So Rav Huna says, look, he said he's mavatal it. But ask the Gemara, but asmachta loikanya. Look in the Ran. The Ran is found on Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, 5 lines from the bottom. Rav Huna michti asmachta hi, vasmachta loikanya, the hagaver lo itbis suchusei. This person only gave over his shtar of rights to this field, to the Bezin Elamishim de Samachadaite, because he was reliant, the lessee, that he would come. V'cholkai gavna, afilu beloy oinus, even if an oinus would not have happened, loy kani, he shouldn't be koina. I mean, the guy said, I'm giving it to you if I don't come back, because he was hinged on, he was banking on coming back. So, asmachta loikanya. One of the reasons why, if you gamble, there's an issue of gezela, is because you're stealing money from the other guy. Because the other guy thought he was going to win. So if you take the money, you're a ganav. What do you mean? That's the deal. The deal is whoever wins the poker, the deal is we all put the money in the pot, I thought that my fantasy team was going to win. So you picked players, I picked players, so I won. I picked the better players, so I won. No, you're a ganav. Why you're a ganav? Because the other guy thought he was going to win. He only put the money in the pot because he thought he was going to win. That's an issue with Mesachek Bekuvia. Asmachta Leikanya. Everybody thought he was going to win. So the Gemara says, in Rav Huna, how you kaina Asmachta Leikanya, says the Gemara, no, this is different. Asmachta Leikanya is when I obligate myself to do something or to give something. Shani Hachir, it's different. Demitavsan Zuchusan. I gave my rights to the Bezdin. Meaning, what am I telling you I'm going to do? I'm telling you I forego my rights. But the rights that I have, I don't have them. I gave them to you. When do we say Asmachta Leikanya? When you commit yourself to something. But if you're not committing, you've already given it. So then, perhaps Asmachta Kanya. Says the Ran, Shani Hacha, the Metafsan Zachvase, Shekivan Shiyatsu Mershusai. Since it left your domain, Vitfisan Biad Bezdin, Leka Asmachta. Fine. Says the Gemara, really? Vehecha de Metafsan Lav Asmachtahi. But if somebody else is holding on to your rights, that's not an Asmachta. But Vatna, we learned in the Mishnah, Mishapara Mikzas Choyvoi. Let's say somebody paid back part of his obligation. He paid back part of his debt, the hishlish eshtarai. And then, so now like this. Ruvain owes Shimon $1,000. Shimon has a star that Ruvain owes him $1,000. Ruvain paid him $200. So now what? Now the Malva was paid partially from the loiva. So now what, the Malva is going to hold on to the star, he'll just collect another $1,000. So what they agreed to do is that he's going to give it to, he's going to have to give a shoivar. Normally, if let's say you pay back $200, so the loiva, the Malva is going to write for the loiva a receipt for the amount that he paid back. But that's a pain in the neck. So what do? They give the star to a third party so that the Malva cannot collect the full amount, and the third party ensures that the loiva pays back the remaining $800. So the case is where the loiva paid back part of the debt. The hishlish eshtarai, they gave the star to a third party. The Amar, and they said, the loiva said, if I don't pay back the debt in 30 days, tein lo ishtarai, give the Malva back the star so that the Malva could collect the full debt even though I already paid part of it. Higiyaz man v'loy nasan. Let's say the time came and the loiva wasn't able to pay back the remaining part of the chayv. So Rabbi Yossi Omer Yitin. Rabbi Yossi says you give it to him. Why? Asmachta kanya. Rabbi Yehuda Omer lo yitin. Rabbi Yehuda says we don't give it. The Amar of Nachman, Amar Rabbi Ravu, Amar Rav, in halacha Rabbi Yossi Damar Asmachta Kanya. Rav Nachman said the name Rabbi Ravu and the name of Rav. The halacha is not like Rabbi Yossi who says Asmachta Kanya. The halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda Asmachta Loi Kanya. So now, Rav Nachman said in the name of Rabbi Ravu, in the name of Rav, the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda Asmachta Loikanya. That means Rav Paskins Asmachta Loikanya. If Rav Paskins Asmachta Loikanya, then isn't the halacha Asmachta Loikanya? And if that's the case, this is a case where he gave it to a shlish, he gave it to a third party. So then the halacha should, we can't say that Rav Huna holds Asmachta Kanya when you give it to a third party, because we see even when you give it to a third party, Asmachta Loi Kanya. So the Gemara says, no, here it's different. You know why? What does it mean here it's different? Basically, we've successfully proven that even when you give something to a third party, Asmachta Loi Kanya. So then the question is, why would Rav Huna hold that when you say Levatlan Zachvasoi, it stands if you don't come due to an oines, and yet when somebody paid back a partial debt and says if I don't come back in the interim, I'm going to be obligated to pay the whole thing. There we say asmachta loy kanya. So the Gemara says no, shani hachir. It's different. The amar lebatlan zechvase. He says that his zuchus, his rights, should become batal. What does that mean? To lose money, asmachta loy kanya. If a guy says if I don't come back, I'm going to pay the full debt, you're obligating yourself in money, asmachta loy kanya. But let's say you're saying, I'm going to look for more proof, and if I don't come back in 30 days, then the proof that I brought is, the proof that I'm going to bring is batal. So he's not being mavatal money, he's being mavatal support, meaning support to his claim. He's not abandoning the claim. He's not saying that the land doesn't belong to him. He's just foregoing the proof that he claims that he would have been bringing. So regarding that, we say asmachta kanya. Says the Ran, the bottom line on Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, Shani hacha da amar levatlan zechvasai, kalamer shehu moichel kal kayach v'zchus sheyesh loi ba'oisan shtaros. He's only abandoning whatever koyach he has in those shtaros. The kiva de mechilohi, since he's moichel lespe asmachta, there's no asmachta. The miyad zoicha b'al chavera, his friend is zoicha in it immediately. V'chein b'moiser liyad chavera, likewise, if he gives to the hand of his friend, v'amar and he says, imloi esekach, if I don't do such and such, zakeh b'masha b'yadcha, you should be zoicha in what's in your hand. Kana, he's kaina. Deleka asmachta. These are not issues of asmachta. When you're moichel something, it's not an asmachta. You know when it's an asmachta? When you obligate yourself to pay money, that's an asmachta. Ela ba'omer etain. If you say, I'll give this to you if such and such happens, oya shamar apei kiyotze. It's not asmachta when you forego a right. It is asmachta if you agree to pay money. It's to agree to pay money, you need a higher level of commitment. We allow you to be moichel a right that you have, or if money was in your friend's hand, you can be moichel that money through an asmachta. But you can't obligate yourself to pay new hischayvusim through asmachta. Okay, what's the bottom line? V'hilchasa, the halacha is asmachta kanya. Asmachta is kaina. Now what does that mean? Does it mean it's kaina only if you're moichel, or even to pay? And then the Gemara says, v'hu deloi anas. Asmachta is only kaina if there is no oines. But if there's an oines, we say oines rachmana patre, like Rava. V'hu dekanu minei bevezdin chashiv. And that would only work, this din, asmachta kanya, is if you made a kinyan with a chashava bezdin. If you did in a bezdin and was not a chashav bezdin, or you didn't do it in bezdin, then it would not be a standing transaction. Says the Ran, about midway through the page, we're going to do 8 lines in the Ran. The hilchas asmachta kanya, the hu duloi anos, provided there's no oinus. V'hu dekanu minei bebezdin chashav. V'hu duloi anos, what does it mean there's no oinus? Klaimer, afilu dumya dechala benai she'enai anos gamar. When we say, as long as there's no oinus, even similar to your the son getting sick, which is not an oinus gamar, even that there can't be. The anas gamar kamar, if it means, if there's no anas gamar pshita, it's obvious that you would not be liable in that case. Ela ki hay unsa kamar. It has to be like an oinas dumya dubinai. Okay, why? We compared the situation of Oines to the Mishnah by Nedarim. Just like regarding the Mishnah, that with the mindset where your son got sick, you never made the neder. Hachanami here too, ki atfis l'chusei, when you gave your rights to the bezdin, loit Allah al daita, never entered your mind, sheyaniach benoi choila, that you would leave your son sick, fiyatza, l'riv, and go out to the dispute. I mean, just like in the Mishnah, you never meant the neder, if you never meant the guy has to come eat by you even if your son is sick, so too, when the guy gave over his zechus to the bezdin, he never meant to be mevatel it if the reason he can't come back is because his son was sick. And then it has to be a bezdin chashuv. Only a bezdin chashuv is strong enough to use the din of asmachta kanya, to be mafkinan mamayin, to extract money, kagoin beidina de Rav Ami for Rav Asi, like the bezdin Rav Ami and Rav Asi. Not like the Rambam that it has to be a bezdin samach, because then the Gemara should have said bebezdin mumcha. Rabbi Isai, that's all for this week. Pick it up as Hashem next week in the Mishnah on the bottom of Chazayim Mem Beis. Shkoyach everyone, feel good, have a good night. Hatzlacha and everything. Shkoyach. Kol tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.